Hey guys, welcome. Thanks for turning on your cameras. That is awesome. My name is Ben Olson. I'm one of the co-founders here at LSAT Demon. How many people, this is your first class ever at LSAT Demon? Okay, I see a few hands raised. Okay, awesome. I hope it's a good one. If you have any questions, you can ask me or who's with us today? Eric, how's it going? You can ask Eric in the chat. Eric knows just about everything. Eric is also the producer for the Thinking LSAT podcast, as well as LSAT Demon Daily. I don't know if any of you listen to that, but you can thank Eric for editing out all our stupidity. Oh, Abigail, you're here too. Thank you, as always, for coming. Anyways, asking Eric or Abigail anything in the chat would be super helpful. Hayden, you have a question. Go for it. Hayden, I cannot hear you. Or did you just remove your hand from being raised? That's no problem. Anyways, today what we're going to do is we're going to tackle two games. We were going to do games that do well with, or might do well with, a certain type of setup, circle slash, but it turns out that the games we have available to us that we can use for this free class probably wouldn't benefit enormously from that type of setup. So we're just going to do some games and then try our best to learn from them. I think at least one of these games is pretty challenging, the virus game. So hopefully, even though it's your first class here, for some of you, it won't deter you from the LSAT. In any case, let's start with this first game. So the way this is going to work, you take a look at the syllabus, right? You should see that first game. It's called Special Project. In any case, I'm going to give you 10, 12 minutes to do this game. So give it your best shot. That's often because the best way to learn is to try and fail, right? Hopefully you succeed, but even if you don't, that doesn't matter. We will then go over that game together. So I'll set it up here, and as I'm setting it up, you can ask me questions, and then we'll go through the actual questions to see how the setup helps us answer those questions. If you do this game and you don't create any sort of setup, that is okay too. All right, you don't have to solve these games the way that I'm going to solve them today, or that you've seen anyone else solve them. You just have to solve them. That said, for the vast majority of people, creating some sort of setup and trying to figure out what is going on before you go into the questions helps in most cases. So in any case, we're going to go ahead and just try that first game. When you click on the link, it should give you an option to start it or to view only. Just go ahead and hit Start Challenge and start answering the questions after you've tried to unpack the game as best you can. Any questions about any of that before we do this first game on our own? Okay, good luck. I'll give you 10 minutes and we'll go from there. All righty. Looks like most of us just finished, so we just got past the 50% mark. If you haven't filled out the poll, please do so. I'm just curious whether you did worlds here or not. Maybe you have no clue what that even means, how hard you thought this game was. It looks like most people think it was a level, well, I don't want to bias you, but before you select your level of difficulty, but most people here are saying it's a level 3 game in their minds, and then kind of evenly split between a level 2 or a level 4 game. In any case, I went ahead and wrote down the variables so we can just jump in. All right. I'm going to try to set this up and then we can talk about it. All right. So test 78 game 1, we have 7 workers, QRS, TV, W, and X. Sounds good. There they are. Did I get them all? Yeah, I did. Okay. Exactly 3 of the workers will be selected to be project members. And exactly 1 of these project members will be the project leader. Okay, this sounds like a very common game pattern. We are dealing with an in-group and an out-group, right? We have some people who will be on the committee, or what is it, or on the project, and some people who won't be. And specifically, we're told that exactly 3 will be on, which means exactly 4 will be off. Okay, so you can do this horizontally or vertically, it doesn't matter. But what I'm thinking about in my head right now is essentially, I have 3 people who are going to be on the project or in. And I have 4 people who are going to be off of the project or out. So when I do an in-out type of diagram, I tend to have the in be on the left and the out be on the right. Okay. Any questions so far? Hopefully this part of it is pretty straightforward. Okay, now one of these people that is on the project or in is going to be a leader. I'll just say this first guy is the leader. The rules are subject to the following constraints, or the project is subject to the following constraints. Q or R can be the project member or be a project member only if leading the project. Okay, so if Q is in, then it's got to be the project leader, right? And if R is in, then it's got to be the project leader, which means that we can't have both of them in, right? We can't have both of them be on the project because then you'd have 2 leaders. That's not going to work, which means at a minimum, one of these folks has to be out. Okay, so no matter what happens in this game, Q or R, I don't know which one, but one of them has got to be out. Okay, because I can't have both of them in, otherwise they'd both be project leaders. Now, here's the question. Do I have to have one of them in? Does one of them have to be in and be the project leader? Okay, in the chat, I see a bunch of people saying no, that's good. Because it's just saying, hey, look, if these people are on the project, then they have to lead it. But it doesn't say that they definitely have to be on the project. It's just that they can be, but only under these conditions, right? So maybe they're both out, and then we don't care about this rule. Okay, I'm actually gonna keep going. Maybe we'll come back and split this game on the basis of this rule. Might be good. How many options are there for Q and R? Does anyone know? How many worlds would we have to create if we created worlds on the basis of Q and R? Okay, I see a lot of people saying 3, and that's exactly right. You either have Q in and R out, R in, Q out, or you'd have both Q and R out, right? So we could create worlds on the basis of those 3 options. The only option you can't have is Q and R both in, which we already talked about. Cool. Next rule. If S is a project member, Taylor must be also. Okay. So if S is in, well, actually, whoa. if S is in somewhere, I don't know if S would be the leader or not, but if S is in, then T would have to be in. If S is out, does this rule tell us anything? Marissa says no, and that's exactly right. This rule just says, hey, here's what happens when S is in. It doesn't tell you what happens when S is out. Lauren, question.
So when we have conditions like that, can we assume that if S then T, can we say if T then S, or is it not that?
No, you can't do that. So, you know, if you hit me with your car, not that you ever would, but if you did, Lauren, then I might get angry. Okay, sadly, I'm not perfect. But that doesn't mean that if I get angry, you hit me with your car, right? So you can't go in the reverse. But and we could talk about what this rule implies. This does imply that so it says if S is in, then T is in. So the rule might look like this. If S is in, then T is in. That means that if T goes out here, then I can't have S in, right? So if T is out, then S is out. But and that's called the contrapositive, but we don't even need to worry about that. I don't want people to worry about the contrapositive. It can create confusion and create mistakes. So the only thing you have to think about with if-then statements is focus in on the if clause. There are only two options for this if clause. Either S is a project member or S isn't. And when S is, we know that T is also a project member. And when S isn't a project member, we just don't know anything because the rule doesn't tell us what happens when S is out. Okay, now you can keep it pretty simple like that. There are only two scenarios: either S is in or S is out. Okay, so well, let's keep going. Last rule: if W is a project member, neither R nor V can be. Okay, so if W is in, R and V are out. One thing I'm noticing here is that this last rule has R in it, and the first rule also had R in it, right? So these two rules are probably going to interact on some level. Let's go ahead and, what should we do here? Well, I think I'll create worlds. I can either do it on the basis of S. I can do it on the basis of anything. I did do a quick sneak peek at the videos we already have. And it looks like in one of the videos, I did not create worlds. So you should definitely check that out after this class so you can see how games can be attacked without worlds. I'm going to go ahead and create worlds on the basis of something here. I'm curious, what did people create worlds on the basis of? Did you create on the basis of the second rule, the third rule, a variable? Okay, I see R, I see W. Oh yeah, some people did it on the basis of Q and R, the first rule. Okay, first and third. Yeah, makes sense. All right. I'm gonna try to be a little unconventional here. I think I didn't quite watch the whole video, but I think Nathan created worlds on the basis of W. And so that's the other video in the explanation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a world based on S. Okay, because the thing about worlds, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you'll see very soon. But the thing about worlds that a lot of people stress about is they're not sure what to create the worlds on the basis of. And in a lot of games, it doesn't matter. If you create worlds on the basis of S, if that's where you start creating worlds, it's going to work out. If you create worlds on the basis of W, it's going to work out. And I want you to get over that analysis paralysis and just try creating worlds on the basis of different variables each time you do a game so that you can see how the outcome is often the same. Okay, so when I say create worlds, what I mean is I'm going to zero in on a rule or a variable, and I'm going to think of all the possibilities for that rule or variable, and then I'm going to create all of them at the same time. And those are going to be my worlds. So let's focus in on S, just because it's different from what's happened before. And what we can do is we can do it on the basis of S right now, and then you can watch the videos after class with the other variables and see how it works out. Okay, so if we create worlds on the basis of S, and I'm just really looking at the second rule here, how many different possibilities are there for S? Okay. Annabelle, Marissa, you all say 2. That's exactly right. Oh, yeah. Siegfried, you said you could have 3. You could have in, you could have out, and you could have in as the leader, right? In without being the leader and in being the leader. Fair enough. Does it matter who the leader is? Yeah, it does matter. I guess if you know that S is a leader, then Q and R would have to be out. Okay, you could do that. Let's do that. You could do it. Okay, so there are 2 options here as well. You could either create a world where S is in and a world where S is out. Those are the only 2 possibilities on some level. Or you could do what Siegfried has suggested here and say, hey, I'm going to create a world where S is in as the leader, S is in not as the leader, and then S is out. Okay. And it doesn't matter. So I'm wondering what I should do here. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to do what Siegfried suggested. And then I'm going to move this out of the way so we have space. Okay. All right. So I have 3 worlds here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Of course, my pen is dying. Let's see if this one's better. Okay, world 1. World 2. Okay, so these are my 3 worlds, and either S is in and the leader. Okay. S is in, but not the leader. Somebody else is the leader. Okay. Or S is out. Those are the only 3 possibilities for S. Sean, are you cool with this? All right. Sean says he's cool. If you're not cool, just yell at me and we can stop. But these are the only 3 possibilities for S. And now I'm going to see what must be true based on this second rule. So the second rule says if S is a project member, T must be as well. Okay. In this world, S is out, so that doesn't matter. In this world, S is in. So that means T has to be in, although I don't know whether T is here or here, because T might be a leader or might not be. In this world, S is in and S is a leader. So that's going to bring in T. Okay. All right. So I just applied the second rule. That means that the second rule is done. We have 3 rules. 1, 2, 3. I've applied the second rule. I never have to think about it again. Okay. All right, let's keep going. I want to talk about the, it doesn't really matter. Let's just go with the W rule. Okay, if W is a project member, neither R nor V can be. Okay, if W is a project member, if W is in, then R and V have to be out. Okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen there. If W is in, R and V has to go out. In this world, this is a kind of a tricky question. I'm sorry, this is a little bit advanced for you if you're just getting started, but I want you to think about this rule for a half a second in this world. If W is in, according to the third rule, R and V have to go out, right? You guys okay with that? So in this world, if I put W in, what is going to happen with R and V no matter what? They're going to go out, right? And that is true even if the rule didn't exist. Are you guys okay with that? So because that is true, even if the rule didn't exist, I don't care about that rule in this world. I'm never going to violate that rule. I'm never going to like do something wrong there. So I'm going to ignore the third rule when it comes to this world. I just don't even need to worry about it. Floricia. Question.
Sorry about that. I might be jumping ahead, but the first rule, and I mention it because the W rule, if it's in, then R has to be out, R and V. But the first rule says that if R and Q are in, then they have to be the leader. So in the worlds where S and T are the leaders, then if R can't be in, if you use W, we know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in the world where we have leaders identified, then that would impact Q.
Okay.
Q,
So you're absolutely right. But what I want to do, and what I think is really important in the games, is tackling one thing at a time so that we don't get confused. So we'll come back to that and we'll just see, okay, what's going to happen with Q and R. But because I've started to go down this path with W, let's just finish it and then we'll go to the Q and R thing. Is that cool?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So for this world, if W is in, R and V are going to be out no matter what. So I don't worry about the W rule here. Here, oh, we have the same thing. If W goes here, then R and V are going to go out no matter what. So I don't have to remind myself of that rule. Okay. So the third rule is always going to be followed in these last two worlds. So I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to think about it. Okay. This world, though, if W goes in, it's not necessarily the case that R and V are going to go out, right? Like I could put W here and I could accidentally put R or V in. So I need to take care of that rule in the first world. I don't need to worry about it here, but I do need to worry about it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this first world again into two worlds. One in which W is in and one in which W is out. Okay. So let's just do this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. S is out in both of these worlds. I've taken this world and I've split it into a second world. So these two worlds are the same, except now I'm going to put W in for this one, and I'm going to put W out for this one. Okay. I didn't need to do that here because I don't care about the W rule in these two worlds, but I do care about it here because I could mess things up. Felicia.
Why do you not care about the W rule in the worlds where S and T are the lead?
I don't care about the rule there because I'm never going to violate it. Okay. And if you're not going to violate a rule, you don't need to think about it. Okay. It's impossible for me to violate it. I can't put W in and then not put V and R out. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I don't have to, if I'm not going to ever violate the rule, I don't ever have to think about it. Okay. But here I could violate it, so I have to think about it. So W in, W out. If W is in, we know that R and V go out, right? Sound good? Okay. If W is out, what happens? Jack, what do you think happens if W goes out? According to the third rule?
Is R in?
No, not necessarily. So the third rule says if W is in, then R and V have to go out, but it doesn't tell me what happens if W is out. And this is something that takes a little bit of time for people to get used to and comfortable with, but if you can get this drilled into your head, it will help you immensely, not only in the games, but also in logical reasoning. The if-then statements tell you what happens when the if clause happens. They don't tell you anything about what happens when the if clause doesn't happen. Okay, so here, when W is in, I know something. When W is out, the rule is essentially useless because it told me what happens when W is in. It didn't tell me what happens when W is out. And if you're confused about that, by the way, if you're like, wait a sec, there's a contrapositive, and doesn't that mean something? I mean, what happened? Well, the thing is, if W is out, right, the rule, first of all, doesn't say anything. It's like, okay, it doesn't talk about when W is out. But the point is if R ends up being in or out, or if V ends up being in or out, it's okay because W is now out. So you just have to just remember this. You don't have to think about the rule if the if clause is not true. Okay, Nambi, question.
No question. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries. Umair.
Hi, man. Just wondering, so the moment W is out, do R and V become floaters? We can just, because I tend to write the floaters.
Yeah, I mean, yes. If for the purposes of that rule, you just don't have to worry about them anymore. So right now, I'm going to leave them as floaters, which means they're going anywhere. But because we haven't dealt with the first rule, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to list them out as a floater because they may end up being constrained, right?
Okay, thank you.
But you're on the exact right path. Okay, so good. Okay, so rule 3 is taken care of, right? We took care of rule 1 at the rule 2 at the very beginning. Then we just took care of rule 3. I applied rule 3 here. I didn't need to worry about it here because I'm never going to violate it. So now we have to deal with rule 1. Okay, so what does rule 1 say? Rule 1 says that either Q or R is the leader or both of them are out. This is probably the easiest world to start with. Here, S is our leader, right? And because S is our leader, what do we know about Q and R? They can't, either one of them can be in, right? So they're both out. So Q and R go out. At this point, I've applied all the rules. So in this world, I've done all these rules, which means the remaining variables are all going to be floaters. So Umair, this is what you were talking about. Because I don't have any more rules in this game, the remaining variables can do whatever they want. So the remaining variables are W, X, and V, and they can go wherever they want in that game or in that world. And the reason for that is because all the rules have been applied and taken care of. Okay. All right, let's come here. This is a little tough because either T could be the leader or it could not be. If I don't love that. I guess we could split it. We could have a situation where Q and R are out or a situation where they're in. Okay. One of them is in. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm going to take this world and I'm going to split it. Either both Q and R are out, right? Or one of them is in. Those are my only two possibilities. Okay. Okay, so if I do that, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's so this is T and S leader going back and forth. In one world, Q and R are out, and in another world, they're going back and forth with the leader position. Okay, if the leader is, if Q and R are in, then I'm going to have to make T not be the leader. Okay, if Q or R is in, then it's got to be the leader. So the leader is now not going to be T, but it's either going to be Q or R, and the other one is out. Okay. The cool thing about this world is it's now done. Do you guys see why it's done? It's over. Yeah, it's full. Yeah, the in group is full, which means everybody else has to go here. So this is going to be B, W, and X. Okay. I have Q and R going back and forth because in this world, I don't know who's in. I don't know if it's Q that's the leader or R that's the leader. I just know that one of them is in, which means T can't be the leader and everything else is finished. Here, I'm going to have Q and R go out. And if they go out, then Wow, it's very similar actually to this world. The only difference is who the leader is. We still have W, X, V as our floaters. Okay. Last thing here. Oh, geez. Okay, well, I'm creating a decent amount of worlds in this setup, but let's start with this world right here. Either Q is the leader and it's in, or Q is out. Sound good? That's not super fun, but oh, you know what's interesting here? Either Q is the leader and it's in, or Q is out. In both of those cases, T has to come in, right? No, because if Q is here, never mind. Okay. Anyways, I guess I'll just create these worlds. So if I split this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is W, S, R, V. Either Q is out or Q is in. And this world is done. It's got to be T and X. In this world, Q is in, so it's got to be the leader. And now we're done with this, which means T, X, and W are floaters. Okay, this is more worlds than I probably wanted to create, but whatever. We're almost done. Q and R, either one of them is in or both of them are out. Again, let's just split this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. S, W. If Q and R go out, or one of them comes in, those are my two options. This one obviously fills up. Q, T, X, V. For this one, we're going to have the variables can do whatever they want. So we have T, X, V, and they can go wherever they want to go. The reason I know that these guys can go wherever they want to go is because I've applied all the rules. So if there are no more rules, then the remaining variables can do whatever they want. This is way more worlds than I'd love to create normally, to be honest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, well, creating them on the basis of S, oh, that was kind of a lot. Umair, question.
Just wondering, based on the way you read the question, how did you know to start with? So there are 3 rules. I read that too, but I didn't know to start with rule 3 and then 2, then 1. I went to the first one and I just created some level of confusion. I was wondering, how did you know?
Okay, no. So actually the point here that I was trying to make was that you can, and maybe I failed, but you can create worlds on the basis of anything. And since there is a video explanation of me doing this game without worlds, and then Nathan appears to create worlds on the basis of W, I thought I would try something different and create it on the basis of
Okay.
S.
Right, you said that, right, okay.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I think creating it on the basis of S and then making this distinction between the leader and the not leader maybe added a level of complexity that didn't give us a whole lot of benefit.
Right.
So, but anyways, the reality is that you can subdivide any world, right, on the basis of the rules if you divide and conquer, and you will end up with all these scenarios. These are all the scenarios that are possible, and the questions can be answered. Eric,
Thank
question?
you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, on the world where you had S and T in with neither of them as leader, you said that Q or R has to be in, and I didn't understand how you came to that conclusion because I thought V could be leader, like Q and R could both be out.
Oh
V could
yeah,
be leader.
you're talking about this world right here where they're not. Yeah. So what I did here is originally this world was T going back and forth here. Okay.
Mhm.
And I said, oh, okay, well, my two options are either both Q and R are out or one of them is in.
Oh, I see. Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't understand that. The second.
So yeah, I wasn't actually splitting it on the basis of T. I was splitting it on the basis of either both Q and R are out or one of them is in as the leader.
I see. I missed that part. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so this is a lot of worlds. We could answer the questions on the basis of this. I do want to take this opportunity, if you guys are okay with it, to create worlds on the basis of something else to see how it unfolds. Okay. I guess, yeah, I'm very curious what it would look like to create worlds on the basis of QR. And this is something that I would encourage people to do when you do a game, because this isn't great. And you would just have to answer the questions if you did it this way on the actual test, because you have all the information. In fact, how many questions are there? Okay, there's 5 questions. Let's go ahead and try to answer the questions with these worlds. And then I think I'm going to give it a shot with something else as the basis to see how that turns out. But anyway, Siegfried, you had a question.
Yeah, in this in this game, I didn't use words at all. I'm sorry if I answered the 3 possibilities about S, but in this game, I don't know. I feel like words overcomplicate things because you have to think about multiple stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe it's easier just to tackle the questions head on.
I think it's totally possible. The last time I explained this, at least in video, I did it without worlds. So the reason I wanted to do worlds today was to see what would end up resulting. Because sometimes you can't tell whether a game is going to be easier with, well, in a lot of cases, you can't tell whether a game is going to be easier with worlds or without, right? Really, these are like tools in your toolkit. And if you can create these worlds, and really what it comes down to when you're creating worlds is zeroing in on a variable or a rule and then subdividing on the basis of that variable or rule, right? And that itself is a very powerful skill that a lot of people aren't good at first. But if you can do that, it shows your ability to think logically in terms of all the possibilities that are available before you in a game. So even if you do this here and then later decide, no, actually, it would be better to not do it, that's totally fine. I want you to be able to do this game both ways, right? And really, maybe 4 different ways. Here was on the basis of S. Another way could be on the basis of Q or R. Another way could be on the basis of W, which is apparently what Nathan did in that other video. Okay. Let's go ahead and answer these questions. And then we'll go from there. Lucy, you do ask a good question. I think we need to make that explanation available. Abigail, can you do that in Super Admin?
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so question 1 is just a process of elimination. Which one of the following is an acceptable selection for the project? Here, I would just grab a rule and eliminate. So for example, the first rule said, hey, look, Q or R has to be the leader if they're in. That's a problem for which answer choice? Looks like only one of them. Does anyone see? I'm on question 1 right now. Yep, Caroline says answer choice, answer choice B. That's a problem, right? Because Quinn is in, but Quinn is not a leader. Okay, so B is out. I don't see any others violating that rule. Next rule, if S is in, T is in, I'm just going to scan down looking for S. I see S is in C, but T is as well, so it's fine. D, S is in, but T is not. That's a problem. So far, B and D are out, right? Okay, next rule. If W is a project member, neither R nor V can be in. So that's a problem with A, because W is in, but R is in as well. And that's a problem for E, because W is in and V is in. So the only remaining answer choice is C, process of elimination. Sound good? Okay. So question 1, the answer is C. All I did there is I grabbed a rule, one of the rules actually in the game, and just eliminated. I didn't even use my worlds. Okay, question 2. If Taylor is the project leader and Wells is a project member. Okay, if Taylor is a project leader, oh dear God. Okay, so I have, this could be it, this could be it, this could be it, this could be it. Okay, so these ones could have a project leader as T. Oh, and Wells is a project member. Okay, so Wells is in, Wells could be in, Wells is out, Wells is out. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm only dealing with this one and this one. Okay, in these two worlds, T can be in and be the leader, and W could be in, because W could come here and W is already there. Okay, well, then the third project member must be, well, in this case, the third project member is X. In this case, the third project member, if W is here, the third project member is S. So X or S. Is that an option? S or X is an option, it's D. Okay, so I limited all the worlds that don't apply and looked at the 2 that are left, and that's how I got to that answer. Questions on that question? That's using worlds. Okay. The answer is D. Let's go to question 3. Oh, this is not an if question, so I'm going to skip it for now. I'm going to do all the questions that start with if. Question 4. If Taylor is not a project member, so if Taylor is out, it could be out here, not 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 out here, it could be out here. Okay, so only these 2 worlds could have T being out. Okay, in all these worlds, T is in. So I'm looking at these 2 diagrams. Which one of the following workers must be a project member? Okay, well, if T is in here, well. This is not W. W's already in. STV, QR, ST, WVX. Wait, oh, there's only 2 variables left. Why the hell did I have 3 here? Okay, so the 2 floaters left in this world are T and X. If T goes out, then X has to come in for this world, right? If T is out, then X is in. If T is out, then X and V have to come in. But what's true about both of these worlds is that when T goes out, X comes in. Is X a possible answer? Yes. X has to be in no matter what. Okay, so the answer is E for question 4. Questions on that one? Why isn't it Quinn? Okay, well, if T is out, yes, Q is in this world, but in this world, Q is going back and forth with R, so Q doesn't have to be in. Okay. All right, question 5. The selection for the project is completely determined if which one of the following is true. Neither Q nor S is selected. Okay, so what is going to determine everything? If Q and S are out, that doesn't happen here. That does happen here. If Q and S are out, then this is what happens. Oh, but Q and S can be out here, and then we have a slightly different arrangement. So Q and S both being out doesn't tell me whether I'm looking at this world or this world. And in fact, there may be other worlds where Q and S go out. Oh, maybe not. But oh yeah, Q and S could go out here. So the point is if I know that Q and S are out, I still don't know which world I'm looking at. So it doesn't completely determine everything. Okay. Answer choice B says Q and T are out. Okay, Q is in. Q and T could go out here. Oh, they can't go out here because T is in, T is in, T is in, T is in. Okay, so the only world in which Q and T could both go out is this world right here. And if Q and T come out in this world, everything is determined, right? I know that this is Q, I know that this is T, which means these variables have to be filled up with what is left. And since that's the only world that does that, Q and T, when they're out, it tells me exactly what's going to happen in the game. Okay. So the answer is B for that one. Okay, we skipped question 3. Does anyone have any, before I go on to question 3, does anyone have any questions about answers C, D, or E for this question?
Yes, Ben, I chose D for this one.
Okay.
That?
Yeah. So if R and W are out, what happens? If R and W are out, doesn't happen here. Oh, it happens here. Okay, if R and W are out, right? Okay, great. But these variables are still open to whatever. So the fact that these two things are out doesn't fully commit the diagram to certain things. Same here, we actually have R and W out. And so the fact that we have 2 different worlds with R and W going out means that we can have at least 2 arrangements, maybe more.
Okay, thanks. I see it now.
Yep. Okay, cool. Question 3, that's the one I skipped. Question 3 says V could be the project leader if which one of the following is true. Okay. If this answer choice is true, then could V be the project leader? Well, let's take a look. If Q and S are out, doesn't happen. Oh, it does happen here. Okay, so if Q and S are out, could V be the project leader? Yeah. Oh, no, because Q or R is the project leader here. Okay, so that's not going to work. Oh, wait, here we go. Q and S. If that's out, could V be the project leader? Yeah, why not? Okay, so that seems like that's an answer because I can put these 2 out and V still be the project leader. If we're not totally sure, we could check the rest pretty quickly. If R and T are out, that happens here. V is also out, so that's not good. If R and T are out, that doesn't happen here, doesn't happen here, doesn't happen here, doesn't happen here, doesn't happen here because T is in for all of these. R and T are out. Nope, Q is still in, so then that means Q is the project leader. So B doesn't work. Let's take a look at C. If S or T is out, S or T, if they're both out, then Q is the leader. ST, none of these have S and T out. If this has S and T out, Q or R is the project leader. Definitely not going to work. So A is definitely the answer. D, X, S and X. Okay, if they both go out, Q is the leader. Doesn't go out, doesn't go out, doesn't go out, doesn't go out, doesn't go out. S and X, Q is still the leader. So V can't be the leader. Last one, answer choice E, T and W go out. Doesn't happen, doesn't happen, doesn't happen, doesn't happen, doesn't happen, doesn't happen. T and W go out, Q is still the leader, so V can't be the leader. All right, well, so the answer is A for that one. I don't love the fact that this is 7 worlds, but that's that. What questions do we have about this game? Annabelle, go for it.
Yeah, for this question 3,
Yeah.
I feel like for this type of question, I've had a tutor from a different test prep company say, or tell me that like you can kind of like switch the question stem kind of like to be as if it was asking like if Verma was the project leader, which of the following could be true?
Yeah.
Is that right? Or like, so I used that approach and I did get the right answer, but I'm not really sure like why that works.
Yeah, no, that works. That does work. And the reason it works is that if you put, well, let's actually just do it really quick. I hope you guys are okay with this. I can get rid of some, well, I can do it down here. Okay, so let's just do this really quick. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put V in, right? Okay, what happens if V is in? What do we know based on the rules? If V is in, there is somebody who has to go out.
W.
W has to go out, right? Because if W is in, then V and R are out. So W is going to go out. That can come in with V. And oh, we want V to be the project leader. So if V is the project leader, what else do we know?
Q and R are out.
Q and R are out. And this is how you solved it, right? Like you went through this process basically.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So do we know anything else? No, I mean, if S is in, then T is in. If S is out, then everything else is in, actually. So that means that T has to be in. Do you guys see that? Because if S is in, T is in. And if S is out, then T is still going to be in because everything else has to come in. So in any case, this is what we're left with. The point here is that if V is the project leader, then all of these things must happen. Are you cool with that? And because they must happen, if an answer choice here complies with this, then we know V, yes, could be a leader. So for example, answer choice A says neither Q nor S is selected. So Q and S are out. We know that's a possibility when V is a leader. So if Q and S end up being out, then yes, it can be true that V is a leader. And maybe I'm just helping you understand this question, not helping you understand why this works generally, because that was your original question.
Yeah, because it just seems like a mistaken contrapositive, right? If you're like switching that question stem.
Well, it has to do with the fact that the question says V could be the project leader. So it's asking us not if Q and S were out, would V have to be the project leader? That would be confusing, like if and then. But this is just asking, hey, look, if if Q and S are out, could V end up being the project leader? And you would say, well, yes, because when V is the project leader, this is a possibility. So when this happens, could this be a possibility? Yeah, it could be. Not that it has to be. If it said V must be the project leader if which one of the following is true, then you couldn't do this. Seems like you're silent and thus still maybe confused.
I'm a little confused, but I think I'll just like rewatch. I feel like I need some time to like process it. So thank you.
Yeah, okay, no worries. Cool. Any other questions on this question or this game? Alrighty. Caroline, yeah, we are just trying to prove that it's possible. And so here's another way to think about this question really quick. If V is the leader, these things have to happen, right? So I bet these wrong answer choices in this question are inconsistent with these outcomes, right? So for example, answer choice B, neither R nor T is selected. No, one of them has to be selected. So it's not possible for both of them to be out. Neither S nor T is selected. No, T has to be selected. So that's not going to work. Neither S nor X is selected. We can't have S and X out. There's just not room. I have to have one of them in. So D isn't possible and V be a leader at the same time. Last answer choice, neither T nor W is selected. No, T has to be selected. So B, C, and E are all wrong because they have T out. Okay, Daika.
Hi.
I
Hi.
was, I was just wondering, or back to question 5. I was like, what is the best way? So is the best way to like tackle, because that's like the one question like I had a problem with, and I was like, I wasn't sure if you should use the answer choice because it seemed like you use the answer choice kind of to then like tackle the world and then answer the question. Is it better to just go that way? Like as in like first instinct, because it's like in the exam, like you're like the time and everything. So I was just wondering like what's the best like first.
Yeah. Well, so if you create worlds as I did here, you're going to want to, just look at the answer choice and say, okay, if Q and S are out, for example, then does that determine everything? And if you can see Q and S going out in more than one world, then you know it doesn't completely determine everything because there's more than one possibility.
Okay. So basically like in that one scenario, like, so like what if you didn't need to create a world for like maybe the first 2, like 1, 2, and 4? So you would just say to use the answer choice to kind of like create worlds to figure it out. At that point.
In this case, I'm using these worlds that I've already created, but even in a situation where you don't have worlds set up, it's asking you if which one of the following is true. So you have to start with the answer choices. You're going to have to put Q and S out and then see if that ends up determining everything. This question is actually easier than it seems because what is happening here is the correct answer is something that will get you all the way to the end, right? So if you start with an answer choice and you can't make more than one inference, you know it's wrong because the one inference should lead to another inference, which should lead to another inference. It should get you all the way to the end of the road.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. For Alicia.
So I have a 2-part question regarding number 3. Even though it's not written as an if question, isn't it an if question? Just written differently?
No, because questions 3 and 5 are asking you to assume that the 5 answer choices are true. If which one of the following is true. So unlike a traditional if question, which asks you to assume one thing as true, if you think of this as an if question, you're going to have to create 5 different like scenarios, right? The first one where A is true, the second one where B is true. So no, it's not our traditional if question.
So that leads to my second question, which is, but essentially you have to test each answer to determine which one would work.
That is correct. Yep.
And I guess, so aren't you using the same strategy that you would if it were a traditional if question, or no?
No, because in a traditional if question, what happens is you're given one condition. For example, in question 2, it said if Taylor is the project leader and Wells is a project member, right? So I have 2 ideas there, but I have a piece of information, and then I try to test all the answer choices against that one piece of information. Whereas in questions 3 and 5, I'm given 5 possibilities. It's like, okay, well, if A is true, okay, now if B is true, now if C is true. So it's a lot more work, right, than when you're just given a single condition and then asked to test the 5 answer choices against that single condition.
Yeah, I see that. And I guess there's no way of getting around having to test every single one, like on the actual exam. I mean, that is going to eat up some time.
It is going to eat up some time, but if you've done the if questions first, or you've created worlds, then you're not really doing a whole lot more work. You're just looking for the worlds that apply and then testing that answer choice against that world.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. Any other questions on this game? All right, man, that went long, probably because I guess I decided to create so many worlds. and you had some good questions. So thank you for participating. We don't have a lot of time left to do this last game, which I also know tends to be a little bit of a challenging game. So here's what I'm going to do. But this class is recorded. I'm going to give you time to do this game, and then I'm going to just stay over and go through it. And if you want to hang out afterward, you can stay and we'll go through the setup. If not, you can always watch a previous video anyway. There should be some in there, and we can go from there. Yeah, so good luck. I'll give you 10 minutes to set up this game. It's the viruses game. Sorry for going over, by the way. Thank you preemptively. All righty. Looks like this is definitely one of the harder games. It's been 15 minutes and we're not quite to 50% of you being done yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and relieve you of your burden to finish. You can just stop there if you want. If you want to finish, you can just mute me and continue on your merry way. But I'm glad that some of you liked it. All right, Daisy, Katie, Jasper. Let's check it out. Let's see what we can make of this game. Okay. Okay, so there are exactly 6 computers. I have those listed here on a small network. Exactly one of those computers was infected by a virus. So that's important to keep in mind. Exactly one of these guys was infected by a virus, right? From outside the network. And that virus was then transmitted between the computers on the network. So the virus came in at one of these points, not multiple points. And then once it got in, it then went to everybody else, okay? Somehow, some way. Each computer received the virus exactly once. Okay, so let's say the virus came in at P and then went to Q and then went to R. It's not going to go back to Q. Okay, so each virus was infected once. Okay, so far so good. The following pieces of information concerning the spread have been established. Rule number 1, no computer transmitted the virus to more than 2 other computers on the network. All right, so it doesn't matter how you visualize this, but I'm going to think of it as going from left to right because that's just how we tend to think sometimes when we write, right? So I'm imagining that the virus came in and then started infecting computers, right? So it came in and infected, well, I don't know which one, but one of these computers, and then it says it was transmitted to no more than 2 other computers. So it can go to 2 others, or it can just go to 1. So it comes to this computer, it could just go to 1 or it could go to 2, but that's it. Sound good? That's my way of visually representing that. There are multiple ways though. Okay, S transmitted the virus to exactly 1 other computer on the network. Okay, so whenever S got it, S transmitted it to 1 other person, that's it. S can't do this, S can only do this. Okay. The computer that transmitted the virus to R also transmitted the virus to S. Okay, so whatever computer gave the virus to R also gave it to S. So whoever gave it to S, I don't know who that was, but somebody gave it to S, and that person also gave it to R. How are we doing? We have 4 of our computers on the diagram so far. There are 6 total. I don't know who these people are, but I have 4 slots accounted for. Okay. R or T transmitted the virus to Q. Okay. R or T transmitted the virus to Q. All right. The problem here is, okay, R could transmit it to Q, but T could also transmit it to Q. So, and I don't know where T is. That's a little tough, but that's the rule. Okay, it was either R or T that went to Q. Last rule, T or U went to P. Okay, actually, I can get rid of R and S. I don't have to worry about those folks anymore. Okay. These are my variables. R and S are already in my diagram, so I only have to worry about P, Q, T, and U. T or U goes to P. Okay. Well, then this is not P. Right? Because that's S going to it. And it's not Q. Right? Because R or T go to Q. So this can't be Q. Is anyone confused about that? Q and P have to come from something else. So I have S and R, I have P and Q. I don't have to worry about these guys anymore. P and Q, that leaves only two options for that guy right there. That's got to be what? Okay, Caroline says T or U. That's exactly right. Do I know anything about T or U? I know that one of them is going to lead to P, but I don't know which one. So I'm just going to put T/U in here. So I know that has to be T or U. If it's T, does that mean that it's going to P? No, not necessarily, because U could go to P. If it's U, does it go to P? Well, it could, but maybe T goes to P. So this is not super helpful to create diagrams. I guess I could split this. If I knew that that were T, then I would know that R or T would have to go to Q. So I guess I could create worlds here on the basis of T or U. Did anyone create worlds in this game? Let me look. Oh, 46% of you. Okay, Katie, what did you create your worlds on the basis of? Only because you raised your hand first.
Sorry, my headphones are dead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I did like a T chart, so that like 4 quadrants.
Okay.
And I did what you have on the bottom half, and then I split, yeah, right there. And then I split based on it was a lot of work, really. I split on the TP and actually, okay. I split on whether R goes with Q or T goes with Q. And then, so that was like my 4 quadrants. And then going further into that, I added the TP and the UP.
Okay, well, let's slow it down. So let's start with the first step. So you said, hey, look, either R or T goes to Q. And I want to know how you got to 4 quadrants from that, because in one world, R goes to Q, right? That's one possibility. In the other world, T goes to Q, but I don't know where T is. So how did you?
But you don't know where what is, where TQ is?
Yeah, I don't know where TQ is. Yeah.
Okay, so what I did with that is that I just kept TQ like a separate web. I didn't make like a new, I didn't quite make my 4th, like my 3rd and 4th webs yet. I just made like 4 empty quadrants.
Okay.
And then I knew that I would end up filling out 4 quadrants once I implemented the UP situation, the UPTP situation.
That's interesting. I'm surprised you know that it's limited to 4. Did it end up being limited to 4?
No, because what I wanted to do after I did that was visualize it a little easier, and I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little worried because this is, you have 2 or statements, right? And it's like R can go to Q or T can go to Q, but I still don't know where T is. So if T is here, then it's going to Q. But if T is, well, I guess it couldn't go there. But you could have TQ. So then those are 2 possibilities. And then we're going to end up with the same problem with this. All right. How'd you feel about those worlds? Did you like them? Were they helpful?
Yeah, it was super, super easy, honestly. So like when I did the original quadrants,
Yeah.
I could have just solved it from my initial 4. I went ahead and I made it visually simpler with the 8. I could have
Okay.
probably done it with the 4 and done the whole
Okay.
game. In the 8, I nailed it like really fast.
Yeah, because you probably had everything then, I guess,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you started on the basis of RT with Q, right? You had, okay. Anyone else create worlds? And on the basis of something else, Thomas, you said you tried TU. So you created a world where T was here and a world where U was there. Is that right? And then you went from there?
No, it was more like starting with T or starting with U, which was
Starting with T or starting with U. Okay, so S and R cannot be first. Q and P cannot be first because they come after these. So I see what you're saying. T or U has to be first, but did you say that T or U has to go here?
no. So I tried to work, from start to finish, and then I ran into the problem that starting with T or U still leaves quite a lot of variability. So I tried to combine that with the SR rule.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give you that doesn't give you all the possible you could make with that. So it got me into some issues. But
okay, so I see you're right that T or U has to be first. We just don't know whether it's here or maybe before that, right? And then there are some more possibilities that could come off of that, I guess. Daisy, what did you create your worlds on the basis of, if any? Or what's your question? Sorry.
Yeah, I started with you, like whoever's in charge of like passing the virus to SNR. That's what I started with.
Okay, and
but P can definitely be there.
Yeah, P can be there.
So yeah, I did. Yeah, it's UT, P or Q, but I think I'm a little more advanced on like setting up my world. So I didn't do a world. I just kind of did like a little handle to remind myself that I could do either P or Q on one of my worlds.
Got it. Okay. Well, you're absolutely right. There are 4 possibilities. This is either T, U, Q, or P. And if it is Q, then you know that T has to come before it, right? Because R can't. Is that the kind of the route that you went down, Daisy? There are 4 possibilities here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I didn't split on it. I just kind of left little handles to remind myself because I knew I could keep track with that.
Okay. Well, I do like the simplicity of focusing on those 4 possibilities, right? We know something has to go here. And we know that the 4 possibilities are T, U, P, and Q. And depending on what you put here, it is going to limit itself fairly quickly. Like if this is T, then T can't go to P, so that you now know that U is going to P. That could be pretty good worlds, actually. Okay. Am I saying your name right? Thalia?
It's Talia, but it's okay.
Talia, sorry.
No worries. Yeah,
Talia?
for this, as somebody else was saying, well, they said that they started with T or U, and I did kind of say that only T or U could come first, based off of the other rules saying that the virus was transmitted to them.
Yes. Q and P can't be first. The only ones who can be first are T or U. So where did you put T or U? You didn't put it here, right? Because it could be earlier, no?
Yeah, so I started off with T and U, and then I ended up having 6 worlds. So I said that T could either go to P or T could go to Q.
Okay.
And then I had, so those were 2, and then I had 2 more, just kind of like fill in the blank type worlds. And then I also had, or go ahead.
Well, I want to, so this is the skill that we're all trying to develop, and maybe you got this right, but I just want to be careful here, because you said one world you had T going to Q, and in another world you had T going to P, but couldn't we have T not going to anything?
Yeah, so I kind of left like a floating world in which, like, I know that U would have to go to P, but I don't know what necessarily comes in between T and U. So I
Okay.
left that like open for interpretation, and then same in a world where T doesn't go to Q. I know R has to go to Q, but I don't know necessarily what comes between T and R. So I left that empty for the time being.
Okay. Okay.
And then, yeah, I went on to U going to P, or U going to something in which T has to go to P.
Okay. Okay.
And then, yeah, I mean, it's really messy. It's not like straightforward. I kind of use like ellipses in between everything,
Yeah.
you know, showing that it can be moved and it's open for interpretation. But I tried like setting the rules up within these, I guess, semi-worlds. I don't know what to call them. But yeah, I set it up in between there and try to work based off of that.
Okay. So I love that we're trying all these different worlds. I think of all the ones we talked about, and I think it was you, Daisy. I'm sorry if I'm getting mixed up here, but if we know what goes here, that dramatically limits who can come after it because it's now done, right? Like whatever goes there is done in terms of passing the virus on because you can only pass it on to 2 computers. And we now know you've passed it on to S and R. So if we know who goes here, we know a lot about other things. It seems it'll be interesting to see what happens when we create these worlds. But I'm going to say let's create worlds on the basis of the 4 variables that can go there. Because it seems like, and this is usually the case, we'll see once we actually create the worlds, but it seems like things are going to start falling into place. But we'll see. So this slot right here can either be Q, P, T, or U. So I'm just going to go ahead and do Q, P, T, or U. Okay. I'm going to do this a little tighter and give myself some room on this side because I don't know what, well, I guess only one or 2 things can come before. But anyways, T and U. Okay. So this is that block. I'm just taking that block that we have. Not that I need it to be a block anymore, but it's going to be S and then something and then R. Okay. It's going to be S and then R and something. S, R, S, R. Okay. So those are my 4 worlds. Is anyone angry yet? Okay, turn on your camera so I can see your anger or distress. Okay. Which of these 4 worlds is super easy? Well, probably these 2, right? Because we know that T or U has to go here. So if it's T, then it's going to be U. Joe, are you cool with that? Yes, you, Joe. With the, yeah, you're cool with this. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's got to be U, and this has got to be T. Sound good? All right. Let's keep going. We still have T or U here. I'm just going to stick with these worlds since they're already started. If T goes to R, T can't go to Q, right? So R has to go to Q in this world. And this is world 3, 4, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm just looking at this world because it's kind of full. We're going to go ahead and make this Q. Okay. Sound good? Okay, because T or R has to go to Q, but T can't go to Q. Okay. Ooh, this one, T or R can go to Q. Oh, wait. Actually, let's talk about P. T or U has to go to P. U can't go to P. So that means T has to go to P. Okay. Wow, that's great. 5 of the variables. Who's left? U, S, R, T, and P, Q. Oh, Q is left. And what do we know about Q? Oh, either Q comes here or Q comes here. I don't know which one. That's why I'm going to do dotted lines. I'm making this up as I go. Okay, so don't get too mad. Are you guys cool with this? I mean, that's how games are in real life. You just have to make them up as you go. Okay, so that world I think is done. Okay, let's talk about this world. RT goes, who's left? Oh, P is left. Oh, why didn't I see that earlier? Okay, so if T or U has to go to P, T can't do it, so U has to do it. You guys cool with that? Okay. Kenza, you're putting your face in your hand. Are you lost?
Very,
Wait, what?
very lost.
Uh-oh, very lost. Okay. Did I lose you when we created the 4 worlds on this? Is that where the confusion began?
Yes, it's from the beginning.
Ah, okay. Are you okay with this right here?
Yes.
Okay. So we had something that led to S and R, and then S had to lead to T or U because those are the only variables left.
Oh.
You cool with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Stop me if it doesn't make sense. So S and R are already taken care of. I'm never going to think about them again because they're already in my diagram, which means I have 4 variables left. I have P, Q, T, and U. So those are the only 4 variables that could go here.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so I created 4 worlds, one where Q is there, one where P is there, one where T is there, one where U is there, because those are my only possibilities. And now I'm trying to make inferences based on the fact that T's here or U's here or whatever.
Okay. That makes sense.
Cool. Lauren, question.
How is it that we can lead with like P or Q if it says that R, T, or T or U transmits to either one of those variables?
Ah, okay. Very good question. I am not saying that this box is first.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's the box right here that leads to S and R.
Okay.
Yeah. So something might, and well, in fact, something has to come before both of these. Okay. I was just focusing on these worlds because these worlds were easier to fill out, right? If T goes here, then this has to be U because this is either T or U. And so these worlds ended up being easier to just keep going with. So I just kept going with those. Like a question.
Okay, so for Q and P, you're saying that definitely there's going to be like an arrow going still to the left, as in something to come before.
Yeah, something's got to come before these because for Q, R or T leads to Q, and for P, T or U leads to P. So we're going to need something before here. I just haven't really even dealt with those worlds
What
yet.
about for T and U?
Well, for these, it turns out that these worlds are done, right? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variables. So they have to be first in those 2 worlds.
Oh, okay.
We're just done with those. Are
So
you confused as to how I got these to where they are?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Okay, so really quick, if T is here, U has to go there. Are you cool with that?
Because either T or U should.
Because we know that T or U has to come after S.
How do we know that?
We know that because P or Q can't be here because P or Q have to come from something other than S.
Can you tell me how you got that translation from the restrictions? I think that's like what I think I was finding it hard to translate the restrictions. So like,
well, the last two rules say either R or T transmits the virus to Q. So Q has to get the virus from either one of these guys, right? So Q can't be here because if Q were here, then Q would be getting the virus from S, not T or R.
Okay.
So that's the same for Q. That's the same for P. So I can't have P or Q, which means that, and I can't have S and R because they're already in my diagram. So this has to be T or U. Okay. So when T is here, this one has to be U because that's the only other option. And I know P is going to follow U because P can't follow T. T is already taken up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think now that you understand that, I think if you try to create these two worlds from T again, you'll be able to make all these inferences. Okay, let's go to these two. Okay, let's start with, it doesn't matter. Let's start with P. Okay, so P, S, R, what do we know? We know that T or U, oh, well, that's actually pretty convenient. T or U has to go to P. I don't know which one, but I'm going to leave it as T or U because I know this has to be T or U. Are you guys cool with that? Like, if this is T, then this is U, and if this is U, then this is T. All right. Hunter, you're okay with that? Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Unmute.
I'm a little lost, but I'm gonna review the video afterwards.
Oh no, okay. I'm sorry if I've made this confusing.
That's good.
Are you up to us with this point and just confused about these, or are you confused about the whole thing?
Just basically the whole thing. I mean, I kind of understand.
Okay.
I kind of understand like the whole abstract view of it, but not so much like the details. So I'm gonna go back and review the details of it.
Okay. Let me finish this up and then I'll stay and we can take questions and maybe unpack anything that's still confusing.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So T or U has to lead to P. So I'm going to put that there. This is always there. We know that R or T leads to Q. That really depends on, I mean, Q could come off of here, or it could come off of here, or it could come off of here, as long as it's T. I guess we could split this world. That would make it easier. So let's do one in which, I'm just going to come down here. So this is P, S, R, and then I'm either going to have T first or I'm going to have U first. So let's go ahead and create a world where U is first and one in which T is first. So if T is first, then this becomes U. And if U is first, then this becomes T. So I took this world and I split it on the basis of TU. What do we know now? We know that Q has to come after T or R. So Q is either going to go here or Q is going to go here. Okay. Same with this. This is Q is either going to go here or Q is going to go here. Okay. I bet the same thing is going to happen here. Well, oh, no, maybe not. This one might actually be easier. Q or R leads to T. I'm sorry. R or T leads to Q. It can't be R, so it has to be T. You guys cool with that? This world is easier than this one, thankfully. If T is here, then S is going to have to lead to what? Okay, Katie says U with an exclamation point. Yes, that's exactly right. All right, who's left? We have to deal with P. We know that T or U can lead to P. So either P comes off of here or it comes off of here. I'm using the dashes to signal or, essentially. Felicia, question.
So I had to sit with this for a minute and think it through, because it doesn't necessarily state that a variable comes immediately after another. So it doesn't necessarily state that, for example, P comes immediately after T. It just states that it comes after.
It does, because it says that either T or U transmitted the virus to P.
Right, but it doesn't say that. It doesn't necessarily state that there wasn't a computer prior to it being transmitted to P. So my thinking was, okay, so did it immediately go to P, or was there a computer that was infected prior to it infecting P?
So are you wondering if it could go from T to then R and then to P?
Yeah. So I
I
had to
don't-
think about that, just reading the restrictions as they were, if I could make that inference.
I guess I'm just taking that from the word transmitted. So if it's transmitted to somebody from somebody else, either T or U transmitted the virus to P, then either T or U is the computer that is doing that. I don't think you can then transmit it to something else and then have that other thing transmit it to P. Because then T or U aren't transmitting it to P, something else is transmitting it to P.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. I guess I need to sit with it.
Yeah, no worries. Okay.
Thank
Yeah, of course. So we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 worlds. And I think these worlds are pretty complete. I like them. I like them. Let's do it. Katie, question.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I feel like I did something similar to like what the last person who was speaking did for like a brief minute before I realized it wasn't helpful to me. And maybe you can speak on like how to spot like that before you start. So like when I'm like, okay, this is a web game, before I start answering questions, I'm going to go ahead and take my webs and put them in like regular sequencing, like linear order. And then I was like, okay, like this is actually impossible to do. Like I thought I was gonna like make like my lines, my little lines, and then like draw my little loops or whatever. And I was like, this is just not something I can do. This is not what they're asking me for.
Yeah, so basically you put this into an ordering game and then tried to fit it into that framework. Is that what you're saying for a little bit?
Yeah, for like a second. Once I had finished on my web and made it an ordering game, I then tried to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of games are ordering games, so it's very common to assume that if it sounds like ordering, it is ordering. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I have a lot to say, except as you read each game, you might want to just think of it as opting into ordering as opposed to like assuming that it's ordering. I guess it's almost like you have to have the game prove to you that it's ordering. It's a slight change in mindset. It's almost like you're looking for the confirmation that it is ordering rather than trying just kind of, I don't know, assuming that by default a little bit. It sounds like you just assumed it by default a little bit, which is not unreasonable given how many ordering games there are. But I don't know if that will help. Thanks for the thumbs up, Katie. Okay. I guess what I'm trying to get at there, by the way, Katie, is that in a lot of games, I do find myself looking for that confirmation because there are games where, for example, most games tell you that every variable will be used exactly once or at least once. Most games. So almost everyone starts to assume, in fact, not even most, it's like 98%, right, of games do that. So when a game lacks a rule that says you have to have exactly one or more of the variables being used, that's when something as big is happening. But we don't look for the absence, so then we miss it and we just assume that every variable has to be used at least once. So you want to kind of flip this around, and in every game, it's like you're kind of looking for the confirmation that it's ordering, or you're looking for the confirmation that every variable has to be used at least once. Okay, cool. let's go ahead and go into the questions. Question 18, one possible route of the virus from the first computer in the network is Q. Well, it is starting from the first computer. So wait. One possible route of the virus from the first computer in the network to Q. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we got to get to Q. Could we go from R to P? R to P, that never happens. So that's out. Could we go from T to S? No. Yes, T to S, and then R to Q. That's not going to work because I'm not going from T to S and then R to Q. I'm going from T to R and then R to Q. So B is wrong because it requires us to jump from S to R, and that's not possible. Okay, answer choice C, from T to S. Okay, that's works. T to S, and then U to Q, U to P, not U to Q. So that's wrong. All right, let's go from U to P. Okay, this is these two worlds have U first. So U to P, and then R to Q. Oh, that works. Okay, so D is probably the answer. E, from U to T, doesn't happen here, doesn't happen here. That's not even a possibility. Okay, sound good? So that's answer D. Okay, let's keep going. Question 19 is not an if question, so I'm going to skip it for now. Let's see here. Okay, question 20. If T did not transmit the virus to any other computer on the network, which one of the following must be true? Okay, T is transmitting. T might not transmit. T is transmitting. T is transmitting. This is the only world in which T might not transfer to somebody. Okay, so I'm in world 2. Oh, wait, what about this world? Oh, no. This world, T is transmitting. Okay, so T is not transmitting in this world if R goes to Q. Okay, so we're in this world and R is going to Q. Which one of the following must be true? A says P transmitted the virus to S. Yes, that has to be true. That happened in this world. That is the answer. Let's look at the others really quickly to make sure we're not going crazy. Q transmitted the virus to R. No, other way around. U transmitted the virus to S. No, it transmitted it to P. P did not transmit the virus to any other computer on the network. No, and in fact, it transmitted it to 2. E, R did not transmit the virus to any other computer on the network. No, it transmitted it to Q. Okay, that's answer A for question 20. Let's go to 21. Oh, that's not an if question, so I'm going to skip it. 22 is not an if question, so I'm going to skip it. 23 is an if question. If P is the only computer that transmitted the virus to 2 other computers on the network. Oh, interesting. So only P is the one who does it twice. Which one of the following must be true? If P is the only one who does it twice, then it's got to be here. Okay. P goes to 2, and then that's it. Q could still come from R or from T. Here, oh, this works as well. P goes to 2, but Q could not come from T because then T would be transmitting to 2 as well. So I'm either in world 2 or world 5, but if I am in world 5, Q can't come from T, otherwise T will be transmitting to 2 computers. Chad, you cool with that? Okay, thank you, very good. What must be true? Does A have to be true? Does S have to transmit to T? No. Yes, but we could be in this world, so S does not have to transmit to T. B, does T have to transmit to P? Yes, no. So no, it doesn't have to be true. If it's going to have to be true, it's going to have to be true in both of these worlds. C, Q did not transmit the virus to any other computer on the network. That could be, that's true here. That's also true here because remember, this is not possible. Well, even if it were, Q wouldn't be transmitting anything else. But the point is that in both of these worlds, Q is not transmitting to anything else. So yeah, C is correct. Let's look at D and E really quick. D, R did not transmit the virus to any other computer on the network. No, it could transmit it to Q, so that doesn't have to be true. E, U did not transmit the virus to anybody else. Here it did, and here it doesn't, but because it could here, this answer choice does not have to be true. All right, Lauren, question.
What is the likeliness of something like this being on the LSAT? Like, do you know of any tests that had something like this?
Okay, so Lauren, it sounds like you're asking, do I need to worry about this game?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to worry about any game on the test. There's nothing you have to worry about on the LSAT. You can just slowly get better and better at each of these games until you master them. You know, I don't think that this type of game is likely to appear again, but it could, certainly could. And what's more important here is learning how to be flexible, right? Like you read a game and then you try to solve it. Here is a way to solve this game, and we did it with Worlds. The bigger lesson here to take away is, can you solve anything that the LSAT throws at you? And if you can figure out this one and get comfortable with it, then you're going to be more likely to do that for anything else that might be new or different.
There was a game that's about a shift change in past test 72, I believe, or 73, I can't remember. It was like the 4 workers working on one product, and then they have like shift change the next day, and then they work on the same product. But
yeah,
I remember that one, I spent an hour on that by myself. That was a similar game, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't remember that one well enough to, I mean, I don't feel like I drew that in this way, but it totally could be similar or have similar aspects. And Eric, you're saying there was a similar game in the experimental section when you took the test? Okay, well, that's some interesting insight. So maybe on whatever future test incorporates that experimental section, we will see something similar to this. So, okay, the likelihood has now increased from unlikely to maybe actually pretty likely. Okay, yeah.
So if in the event that happens on the test and I'm not prepared for it, if I skip it, will I be penalized for it, or will it just not count?
No, just no, it would count. Like every question that you guess on, you know, is a question is going to go towards your score. If you skip it, it's actually better to guess because at least you have a 20% chance of getting a question right when you guess on it. So you should guess on all those questions, but yeah, you'll end up losing out on that game. So don't worry about it right now. This is a hard game. Get better at the easier games first, and then come back to this game. Try it again. Add it to your review inbox. For Alicia, yeah, question?
Yeah, you know, Q doesn't transmit in worlds 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it does in world 1.
Yep. But question 23 is not talking about world 1. Question 23 only works in 2 and 5.
Okay.
Cool. Because of the initial if question. Stacy, question.
Yeah, okay. So I did the question based on the rule number 3 and 4. So based on because T goes to Q or R goes to Q and T goes to P or U goes to P. Based on those 2 rules, I created I divided into 4 worlds. Actually, I end up with 8 worlds, but I did it like world 1 would be so T and a T leads to Q, U leads to P. So
Okay.
T leads to Q and U leads to P. That's one scenario. And then the second word would be T to P and R to Q. And then third word would be T to Q and T to P. Fourth word would be R to Q and U to P.
Okay. So Stacy, where are you going with this?
This is just how I did the game, but I felt like doing that, I still missed one scenario.
Okay.
Like I just want to ask you whether I could do it this way.
You know, it's hard for me to tell just by listening. So maybe stay after. You can show me your screen and what you drew. Sound
Okay.
good? All right. Let's go to question 19. Which one of the following could be the computer that was infected from outside the network? And let's see here. Okay, who could be infected from outside the network? T, U, T, U. Those are the only ones that could come in first. Of course, they only give us one of those, which is T, so that's the answer. Question 21. Any of the following computers could have transmitted the virus to two other computers on the network except, okay, Q could, so that's out, P could, T could, U could. R is going to 1, R is going to 1, R is going to 1, R is going to 1. So R, and then how about S? Could S go? I have S only going to 1 as well. So, oh, well, look at that. They don't give us R and S, thank heavens. They only give us one of them, which is why there's only one answer. So the answer is C for that one, which is R. Okay, let's keep going. Question 22. The spread of the virus among the computers is completely determined if which one of the following is true. Okay, what will determine everything? What happens if R is transmitted to Q? If R is transmitted to Q, does that determine everything? No, because I have two worlds where R can go to Q. Okay, maybe more. Oh yeah, here's another one. Here's another one. All right, so that doesn't determine everything. T to Q. Okay, that happens here. That happens here. I got two worlds already, so that doesn't determine everything. How about T to S? No, no, yes, no, no. Okay, look at that. If T goes to S, it's the only world that allows that to happen, and everything is determined in that world. So T going to S, that's the correct answer. Let's look at D and E really quick. If U goes to P, that happens here, it happens here. So two worlds, it doesn't determine everything. How about U to R? No, 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 yes, no, but here's the thing. If U goes to R, I don't know whether Q is here or Q is here. So that doesn't determine everything. The answer is C. Questions on this question? Questions on this game? All right, so creating worlds on the basis of QPTU at least seems to work pretty well. There we go. All right, no more questions on this, huh? That was a hard one, I know. Okay.
All right, what was number 19?
The correct answer for 19 was T. The letter is T. You can also just click on the I, and that will reveal the correct answer. All right, thanks for hanging with me. I'm sorry that went so far over. I can see